Hey everyone, it's Alan over at Cobblers Plus, and thank you for joining us for another daily video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about shoelaces and different ways of lacing. So come join us and check it out. So thank you for joining us in our daily video, and today is going to be one of those things that was actually requested by a gentleman that comes in here to our shop frequently. He was asking about different ways of lacing shoes, at least the ones that are becoming very popular, which is the step ladder or the bar lace, whatever you want to call it. It just basically looks like the laces are going straight across instead of crisscross. Now, I'm sure majority of you already know about how to do the basic crisscross, going back and forth type of method. But in today's video, we're going to be talking about doing that bar or ladder lace. That's the kind of standard names for it that a lot of people are calling it. So let's go ahead and get a little bit closer into the video. We have a pair of Belvedores here that we're working on dyeing them. They were unfortunately really messed up beforehand by someone else, so it's one of those that we're going back and forth with and trying to make final decisions on, but I think they're getting close. So we're going to grab our laces. In today's video, we're going to be using some of the M&B Money's Worth Best laces. They're a great lace, especially for the price point at roughly about $3, give or take, wherever you go. Typically, I think they're about $3 to $4 everywhere, but they're a great lace for that price point. We are still working on trying to get some additional laces in that are kind of a premium grade, but there are two brands we'll get into later on once we finally make our final decision, and we'll let you all know about that. But for today, we're going to use one of our favorite laces currently in our shop, the Money's Worth Best, because they have awesome color options. So let's get a little bit closer so that I can let you see what it looks like without me throwing the shoes around too much, and you'll be able to take a look at a closer view. So let's get started. Alright, so we're closer now. I'll go ahead and move one of these shoes out of the way because we'll do two different methods. Pulled out a pair of laces already. I did a lighter color, obviously, so that everyone can see it. It's kind of like a really light yellow, almost beige color. But you're going to grab your lace, basically. Make sure you kind of stretch it out because obviously you can tell there are little folds and everything from when they're packaged. It's kind of nice to kind of just try to stretch them out a little bit and get them a little more evened out. So typically you always want to start out from the top. Even with the cross pattern, it just looks a little bit nicer when you start out with sticking the laces, both ends, into the shoe from the top. It just looks a little bit nicer. It shows a little bit more, especially if you have a colored lace, and if you have a flat lace, same thing. Now with the flat lace, you're going to want to kind of maneuver. In other words, it's going to take a little while to get it to just sit just right and everything, and we're not going to do that today just because, again, it takes a little extra time with the flat laces. You're more than welcome to do it that way if you like to. Completely up to you. Now once we get them through, we pull them through about the same length, even length all across, so they're nice and even. But what we want to do is make one of the laces just a little bit uneven. I don't know how well it's gonna show everybody, but just because these laces are a little bit long, try to move them out of the way. But this is me stretching them out, so we're just gonna readjust a tiny bit, and we just want a little bit of difference in the length, like that right there. So we got one in there and one in there. Okay, now I'll pull the shoe back over. Okay, so we're gonna grab our longer one, and yes, we're going to grab the longer one and put it into the first hole right across the way. So this is our longer one here on my left side. I'm assuming for you guys it looks like the right hand side when you're watching, but basically this side right here, right on here. We're going to grab that lace, and that's our longer one here. I'm going to move this one out of the way. We're going to go straight across, and from the bottom insert the lace. I'm going to set that one aside. Now the opposite side, which has the shorter end of the lace, we're going to do the same thing, but instead of putting it into the next hole, we're going to skip one. We're going to skip across, because here's one hole right there, and we're going to go one up higher and do the same thing like that there. Now that we've got both ends, we'll come back to our first end of the lace that we just did, which was our longer one, and now we're going to come back across, directly across parallel from it, go to the same hole and insert it from the inside, just like that right there. And then grab that long lace again, shoot across, make sure you skip a hole. So we've got this hole right here. We're going to skip up to the next row across from it. Now we can move that out of the way, go back to our shorter end here, and parallel from where the short end of the lace was, insert it back in from the top, just like that. Now we're going to grab this lace and shoot straight up to the very last hole, like that. Coming back to our long end of the lace, again parallel, and into the very last hole. Now these have 5 eyelets. It's different amongst different shoes, but it looks like we actually got it perfect length. So I don't know how well that's showing up here. We've got just about perfect lengthwise at the very end. There we go. Now, obviously, this method here is one of those that it's almost like if you reverse your regular crisscross lacing method, in other words, so that the underside right here underneath, you could still see crisscrosses. And if you have a darker colored lace, usually it blends in very nicely, so it's not a big issue. But the next method I'll show you is going to involve us doing it where the only part that you see are these bar laces, and then finally you're not. Stay tuned till the very end. We're going to go ahead and compare the two laces, what the benefits and stuff are about it, and then I'll show you how to do one of my favorite knots for just about any type of shoe, which is going to stay tied for a long time. It's actually a very popular knot right now in our industry, and so stay tuned for that. So let's go ahead and switch out the shoes. Okay, so we're back with the other shoe. And I've already stretched this out a bit to kind of even it out. We're going to start out the same exact way. Actually, no, I do apologize. What was I thinking there for a second? No, we will go ahead and start out the exact same way. Don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking of a completely different lace pattern as well. That's an option too. But this is for those of you who really just want to have that bar lace look perfect. I mean, you don't want anything else showing but strictly the bar lace, especially because you have the colored laces. Now, this one's a little bit trickier. No matter how much practice you've had with it, no matter how many times you've done it, it's always going to be off on the very ends, just a smidge. So there's almost no point in even trying to see which side's going to be longer or shorter at the very beginning, especially because if you go back from a 5 eyelet, 6 eyelet, 7 eyelet, 3 eyelet, and it's just a back and forth thing all the time. But anyways, we'll go ahead and start out with this side here, which is, again, my left side, your right side. We're going to grab this end and insert it from the bottom of the eyelet and let it poke through on the next hole up from where the first one was. Then the opposite side, we're going to actually do the same thing but skip a hole, just like that. See, so there's that right there. So we skipped a hole. Now the first one that we did, we're going to shoot across straight parallel from the first hole and insert the lace from the top. And to kind of help it get out of the way, we're going to come back underneath here and on the same exact side skip a hole because we've already got the opposite lace getting in the way there. And that will get it out of the way. Now coming back to our first end that we messed around with, we're going to shoot across parallel directly from it, like that. And then on the same exact side, skip a hole as well and go to the very last hole. Finally, this end right here ends up going into here, straight parallel from it. And now with a 5 eyelet, you do have to shoot across. You do have to, because it's a 5 eyelet. Now with a 6, it works. With even numbers, this works out very well. Odd numbered holes doesn't work out well. But because we're going to still have to put a knot in there, it's not quite as visible. As you can tell, these all look straight right here, and then there's that one that's showing up that's kind of cross. When you put a knot in there, it's not very noticeable, not very visible. Plus, it's towards the top, so if you have a pant that comes down enough, it's going to cover it up, so it's not a big issue. Now, again, if you have a 6 eyelet, it works out perfectly. Odd number, 3 or 5, doesn't work out well. So now we're going to go ahead and tie it off. So the knot we're going to be doing today is a Berluti knot. Obviously, these laces are extremely long. They're too long for these shoes, but I really want to make sure I have plenty of visual for everybody. So you're going to do your basic knot across like that, the crisscross. Then you're going to grab some bunny ears. Yes, bunny ears. Both ends, turn them into bunny ears. You're going to overlap them. Take one end of the ears, spin it around into the opening, but don't tighten it yet. Just keep it held in place. I like to stick my thumb through that bunny ear that I just looped in through the hole and pinch everything down. Then I take the opposite bunny ear and do the exact same thing. When you have a short lace, this makes it a lot harder. But now at this point, I've got both bunny ears going in, and I tighten it down. There we go. And this is basically equivalent to double knotting your shoe. Now, depending which direction you tie it and everything, you can always mess around with it to see how it lays for you. You can get it to really sit nice and flat and everything as well. But it's a matter of which direction you do the first crisscross and which direction you do the bunny ears as well. So it's a matter of just getting the hang of it. Also, sometimes I've noticed on the different shoes and everything, the eyelets might be slightly, one's higher than the other. So that can play a little bit of an effect on it. And as far as unlacing it, considering it's a double knot basically, it's quite literally pulling it the same exact way you would undo a regular lace. So that was a quick Berluti knot there for you. It's a little bit hard to really gauge sometimes, but I'll do it one more time. Cross, bunny ears, overlap, loop one of the bunny ears through the hole, hold the ear, and then grab the other bunny ear from the opposite direction, loop it through the hole, and just pull it down. That was a quick, easy one there. Okay, so it's just a matter of practice, matter of just screwing around with it and see how well it works for you. Now, between these two here, obviously this one is going to be a little bit easier to tighten down all across. When you pull the laces, it's going to be easier to tighten down all across this direction. Where this one, however, because the way it's laced, it's a little hard, so you actually have to go through and tighten the bottom ones by hand and just kind of go back and forth. But in the end, it does look a little bit more elegant, basically. Once you have it all laced up and everything, it's going to look beautiful. But if you want something a little more functional but still have the ladder lace, and you have a matching lace to what the shoe is, it doesn't stand out, this is definitely a good option to go with the ladder lace, where it just goes crisscross underneath, basically like that. Looks like a mess underneath. And then there is obviously this one right here, where it doesn't look quite like a mess under there. So just thought I would show everybody a quick option for lacing. I know it's a little bit harder to show on camera. It's always easier to explain and show in person. So definitely one of those things, just give it a shot. go back and forth, experiment between the two. There are a few other lacing methods and techniques that you can do even with a bar lace, so we'll have to get around to those, but at least to try to keep the videos short, I was hoping to show you guys all of these ones here, and hopefully this may help a number of you out to get that bar lace down instead of always having to go crisscross. Now, I do understand that there's a number of cobblers out there that, you know, for them, they don't even want to bother with this type of relacing. So if you purchase a pair of laces, I do request that if you're talking to your local cobbler, we would be happy to help you however we can, but do understand the fact that for installing laces, I mean, we can show you maybe the first time or something, but it's not something that we can really keep doing for you unless we're obviously resoling the shoes, because we take out the laces a lot of times anyways. But if you're coming in just strictly for laces, you know, give a little respect towards your local cobbler, just because I've seen some cobblers that just get so frustrated with it, because $3-4 set of laces when you've got, you know, projects back there to work on to stop to do this, it's a very time consuming thing. So on behalf of all the cobblers out there, I would really like to request that please come into the shop by all means. We'd be happy to help you the first time, but don't expect us to constantly putting in the laces for you if you're just strictly there just to buy the laces, or, you know, laces and some polish or something, because it's a very time consuming process to take out the old laces, especially if you have old ones that are just really beaten up with tons of knots and everything because you've knotted them up together, and it's frustrating. I've actually worked for a cobbler that he flat out refused to do anything with laces. He'll cut them out for you. He'll literally take some scissors and just cut them out, toss them, end of story. But as far as installing new ones, he will never do that. And you know, it's understandable. So I just want to mention that. Obviously, we're not trying to be mean or rude or anything. It's just something, please do understand and respect that fact that a number of us cobblers were in the middle of something, and we're more than happy to talk to you and help you however we can. But laces, something small like that, you know, that's why there are videos like this, to really help everyone, educate them, and be creative. Mess around with it. Maybe you might find some new method that no one else has ever done before when it comes to relacing your shoes. So again, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was very educational. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up, definitely, and subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell icon for future videos. Like I said, there's a few other lacing methods, especially with the bar method or ladder method, whatever you want to call it, that I'd love to show everybody, and just stay tuned for that one, because that one's kind of a little bit different, in other words. As far as everything else on this, I mean, again, self-explanatory. This one is great looking, but not very utilitarian. This one is a little better as far as utilitarian type. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.